All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Marshall Claveau. Welcome to Solarize Oakland County. This is the first event in a series throughout 2026. Solarize, we'll be talking more about it here, but we're really excited to be with Oakland County. Thank you to Chair Woodward and the credit union for hosting us this evening, and thanks for everyone for coming out. Lots of food, so feel free to get seconds, thirds, bring a plate home for your family back there. So here's my contact, and don't worry about having to take photos of these slides. As long as you sign in through either this QR code or on the table over here, we'll be sure to send all this information out to you tomorrow, as well as a recording of the event. So I serve as the director of Michigan Solar Communities with the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. GLREA is a nonprofit of solar advocates, experts, people wanting to learn more. It's one of the older nonprofits in the state of Michigan working on this work. Been around since 1991, promoting the use of renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal, and hydro. GLREA's mission is to promote the use of renewable energy in Michigan through advocacy, education, and implementation. We are a member-based organization, so dues are only $30 a year, and there's more information about our membership. Every Thursday night, we have a great series called Solar Stories, where renewable energy experts will share their story about solar or whatever it is in the world. Our YouTube has a plethora of resources. It really is a great resource to learn more. I love showing this graphic. Thank you to the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory for the usage of this graphic here. This is the breakdown of the Michigan energy consumption. And so, as you can see, this very small, thin line at the top is solar. As we transition to 100% renewable energy economy that's mandated by state law, we really need to increase our solar footprint from a residential to commercial, utility scale, schools, you name it. We got a lot of work to do to get rid of these fossil fuels. So the baby blue, that's natural gas. The black is coal. The red is nuclear, and then the green is petroleum down here. And one of the things I really like to point out is over on it would be your right side of the screen here, all that rejected energy is from fossil fuels. So that's things like heat loss, overbuilding of transmission, where you have a general loss. Renewable energy in general is a lot more decentralized, so you don't get that same rejected energy. So as we're transitioning to renewable energy, we're going to save a lot of excess energy in the form of not having rejected energy.
What do you mean by rejected?
So that's going to be like your heat loss. Every transmission wire has a 20% loss. So just fossil fuels have to have a centralized power plant. And because they have to overbuild, a lot of that excess energy is rejected. And this is labeled 2021. Unfortunately, they stopped producing this graphic, but I've just found it to be a really great visual breakdown of kind of where we're at. The Michigan Solar Communities Guidebook. This is a practical tool for local units of government, people interested in learning more about solar. I do have about 6 copies on me if people are interested in a physical hard copy, but you can download that guidebook on our website, glrea.org. It's really a great resource. It took 3 years in development, and we're actually working on a new edition right now. So I do have these physical copies, so if that's something you're interested in, it's kind of nice to have a physical copy. So this, again, these slides will be sent to you, but this is just to download that guidebook when you get these slides. This is Solarize across the state of Michigan. So kind of alluded to it earlier, but GLRA has been running this program since 2023. Started in Ann Arbor as a community program. People, much like a Tupperware party, where neighbors would come together, different community members would host an event and get a group buy discount. They tasked GLRA with expanding it statewide in 2023, so that's what we've been doing. You can see all across the state from the UP, Munising, Lansing, Holland, Kalamazoo, now Oakland County. We have done Royal Oak in the past, and so we're really excited about this series here. One of the, I guess, the insights that I've had running this program is that there's almost an artificial boundary by doing it in the cities. So doing it with the county approach, it's a lot easier for residents, businesses to understand that, hey, if I'm in Oakland County, I'm eligible for this program. It's not like, I'm on the Troy, Livonia, Birmingham line. That kind of gets a little confusing. So it's all of Oakland County. Be sure to share with your peers after this meeting. That's part of the model, is that peer-to-peer organizing, that this discount's going on. And ultimately, the more people we sign up, the bigger the savings. So We'll touch more on getting up to that 15% group buy discount, as well as the tax credits that are out there. We have some great experts in the room that are going to go through all this for us. So really, what is Solarize? Solarize is the idea of educating homeowners, businesses, nonprofits, places of worship on the savings that are out there. There's one constant in life, and that's that our utility bills are going to keep rising. DTE just approved another 4% increase raise for your residential. So it's just every year they go back to the Michigan Public Service Commission asking for an increase in rates, and every year they get a little more. So we know that's a constant, and so Solarize is the idea that when we come together, we can educate each other on what's out there. We can learn from great companies like Absolute Solar. We're really lucky to have Absolute Solar in the state of Michigan. I work with solar companies around the state. Got some good ones in the room here today as well, but Absolute, they really do a great job. You're in good hands. They're going to give you an honest product. They're going to give you a great design. Had my house done, and I was just blown away by the technology. You know, I'm in the field, but they'll hold your hand all the way, and they're just good people, which is important to me. So this is kind of Solarized by the numbers. This was our lifetime of program. Last year alone, we did a megawatt. So we've really ramped the program up in the past year and a half. So much like yourself, you're on the participant list here. Get a free estimate, and then we've had ultimately 185 sales. Over $357,000 has been saved from this program. So the savings are real. This is not some hypothetical situation. People are saving money. They're getting solar, and ultimately your electricity bill is reduced at the end of the day. So it's a win-win for everyone involved. Going to kick it off here. Julie Lyons-Bricker of the Oakland County Office of Sustainability, who's been a great partner on this project. Oh, Dave. Dave's going to jump the gun here. Oh. All right.
Where's my welcome?
All right, let's give it a round of Dave.
There we go. Thank you, Marshall. And I'm just going to be able to kick it off and hand it over to Julie in just a second. I'm just thank you everyone who's taken the time to come out today. My name is Dave Woodward. I'm the chair of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. And the board and the county executive, Dave Coulter, is very excited to support this initiative. Aligned with a county mission to reduce carbon emissions by 50% by 2030. This aligns with that. But at the end of the day, this is about how do we permanently and structurally change the way that people pay for energy and permanently lower costs for electricity. And while there are lots of things that one can do, new windows, newer appliances, and so forth, to be able to reduce your energy consumption, the most efficient, most reliable way to permanently lower your electric bill is solar. And we're going to talk about today what the process is. We're going to talk about people's shared experience. Later I'm going to share my experience as someone who put solar on a few years ago. And together talk about how do we do this together? How do we talk about it more? How do we demystify, educate, and then put into motion to make sure that rooftop solar becomes more prevalent across Oakland County? We're going to lead the state, and I'm just really excited that everyone here took time out of their schedule to be here and eat up and tell your family, friends, and more. This is the first of a number of these type of gatherings all across Oakland County. We're going to reach more people across the county than any county Solarize effort. So I want to thank GLREA for their willing to partner with us to really realize what's possible when it comes to rooftop solar, but most importantly, permanently lowering energy costs for working people across this gray area. So with that, do I hand it off, or do I hand it back to you, Marshall?
Yeah, go ahead and hand it off.
Okay. So we've got Julie Lyons-Bricker is our executive director of our sustainability, environmental sustainability office. This is one of the offices that when the executive Dave Coulter came in, and it's been a priority of this board to have an office that's going to be the point, not only internally within the organization, but with all the partner organizations around the state. Julie comes from, I've known Julie for many, many years. She's leading this work in her personal life. She's led the work in Royal Oak, and now she's leading the work here for Oakland County. So Julie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward said, I'm Julie Lyons-Bricker. I'm really happy to be here and to see so many people. On behalf of the Office of Sustainability in Oakland County, we thank you for making the time tonight to come out and learn more about Solarize. The work that I do in my office is sustainability, and it covers many things. And what I'd just like to share quickly with you all is that, it's making choices about stuff, right? How you use energy, where you spend your money, etc. And so I only have 2 minutes. I have 5 slides, so I'm going to go really fast. How do I?
The arrow or the mouse there.
Okay, so speaking of choices, just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's happening in Oakland County. We have purchased several electric vehicles and also multiple hybrid vehicles in an effort to move to alternative fuels for our fleet. You can see on the right-hand side, we have our first solar photovoltaics installed. That's from late 2023 on one of the buildings on the east side of campus. We also kicked off a campus recycling program 2 summers ago. And then the last one to show you is about starting in June of 2026, we have a contract with a company that is building a solar farm in Hart, Michigan, and that is going to allow us to offset 65% of all of the electric consumption between Oakland County operations, Water Resource Commissioner, and the Oakland County Parks and Rec. So it's a really big deal, and we're super excited about that. Another thing I would like to talk about is the low waste effort that we're engaging in. You probably noticed when you walked in, there's a big sign in the back that says sort your waste here. We are trying pilot programs with our events to understand how can we work to reduce the amount of volume that ends up in the landfill, because there is a lot of stuff that doesn't belong in the landfill that often gets there now. And so I'll be in the back to help you sort properly, but this was our first effort. And you can see in the light green bins, we have our composting food scraps and compostable materials, which, by the way, everything here, your forks, knives, cups, plates, napkins are all compostable with your food that you don't finish. And then in the dark green, we have recycling. We also have a recycling bin. We probably won't have much of that, but here's the landfill waste. It was about 1 bag and not all the way full, which might not seem like a super big deal, but that event was an Earth Day event for 443 people. And so in this first effort, we thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. We can keep trying this to see what works best for people. So, and then another thing that we do is we work to earn certificates and awards that are indicative of best practices of sustainability efforts across the country. We don't do this just to have the awards, but because of those best practices, and it drives us to do more work. So again, really glad that you're here. I hope you enjoy the program. And you can see our website there if you'd like to find out more information. We'd invite you to have a visit. Thank you.
Thank you, team. One note of housekeeping, the restrooms are through this door. Just watch, there's a cord here, so don't trip on that. Next, we got the 2030 district, who's another great partner here. The state of Michigan has undergone a comprehensive effort to help businesses, nonprofits, and place of worship go get their tax credits. This can be a daunting task for a busy business or a nonprofit that doesn't have a lot of capacity, or it's just, is working with the IRS. And so Detroit 2030 district is your regional ambassador. So we're really thankful that they're a partner on this project. Thank you so much, Mason, for being here.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Just curious, how many of you have heard that tax credits have disappeared or going to disappear? Right. So part of the reason that we're here is, like I said earlier, to demystify the things that we're hearing. While some of them have disappeared, there's a great majority of them are still here, but there is a time limit to act, and that time is now. So a little bit about us at the Detroit 2030 district. We are a nonprofit that's working to decarbonize the built environment. And that mostly includes reducing energy waste. energy waste, the less energy you waste, the more money you have in your pockets, hopefully for operations. So what is elective pay? Elective pay is a tax credit that's specifically for tax exempt entities. So when we think about government, houses of worship, nonprofits, anyone that doesn't pay taxes. This is the same tax credit that was for businesses. Initially, nonprofits were excluded from it because they didn't have a tax liability. So elective pay was created specifically for nonprofits. So excuse me, allow me to introduce myself. Marshall already introduced me, but Mason Christopher, the building data analyst with the Detroit 30 district, and your elected pay ambassador. And we also have Peggy Madden that's in the back. She is the Detroit 2030 founder and also the elected pay ambassador. And we represent Region 10, and that's Oakland County, Macomb County, and Wayne County. So what is elective pay tax credit? You may have also heard it be described as direct pay. These terms are interchangeable. They mean the same thing. This is an entitlement that is owed to you if you install a clean energy project. So this is not a grant. You don't have to worry about it going away. This is your money. If you install these clean energy projects, you are owed this money back to you. It can be combined with grants, other loans, other incentives, through your utilities or otherwise. And genuinely, it is a non-competitive process and it's uncapped. So you can use this credit on as many clean energy projects as you have. We also are working with the Michigan Infrastructure Office to have different, trying to get my words together. Technical assistance, there you go. Free technical assistance through biotech. You can scan this code and it takes you right to the website. So what elective pay eligible investments or projects is listed here. Mainly for this presentation, talk about solar power, but we also have geothermal, we have EV chargers. Unfortunately, EVs have already expired, but if you did purchase them last year, you can still get a tax credit. But energy storage is also a big one. What's not included is windows, LED lights, insulation, and air source heat pumps. So how the elective pay credit works? First, you have to place your project in service. So after you have it installed, you place your project in service, then you file for the pre-filing registration. You file your taxes, and then 45 days to 6 months later, you get a check. If the IRS is late on that check, you do gain interest. So it is in their best interest to pay you on time. If not, you get a little bit more money back. So we do have some important dates that we want to emphasize. And again, for Solarize, we want to focus mostly on this piece right here, solar and wind, definitely not wind, but solar. You need to get your project started before July 4th of this year in order to give yourself 4 years to complete your project. While majority of projects shouldn't run 4 years, we are talking about like bigger projects. If you do get started with your construction after the 4th of July, then you have until the end of next year to complete your project and put it into service. If you don't complete your project, if you start after July 4th of next year and don't complete it by the end of next year, that tax credit does go away, unfortunately. So this timeline is crucial. And I also want to point out energy storage. Energy storage, you think of battery storage, is usually paired with solar. Energy storage still has its full tax life to it, so it doesn't expire until the end of 2034. One of the things that makes elective pay a little complex at this point is PFE, which is prohibited foreign entities. This is a new rule that was established by the One Big Beautiful Bill that makes it that if you don't comply with PFE, then you may be eliminated from claiming a tax credit at all. And those rules are the entity level restrictions, payment restrictions, and also material assistance restrictions. We don't expect you to learn all this and know all this. That's why we're here as elective pay ambassadors. This is literally our job to help make sure that your project is in good standings, making sure that we are asking the right questions, making sure we're helping you come up with the right answers, and everything stays into compliance for you can claim these credits that we need here in Michigan. Very briefly, there are additional requirements if you have a very large solar array you're installing, 1 megawatt and higher. So municipalities, you may be thinking about that size of a project. We won't go into the detail of it right now, but please reach out to us. It's prevailing wage and apprenticeships requirements that you have to comply with. Also want to touch on very briefly of how grading funding works and the no access benefit rule. So if your project is completely grant funded, unfortunately, you don't qualify for a tax credit. It is a refund and you can't have an access benefit. You can't make money on the project. But if it doesn't cover all of the project, so example of if it covers 70% of the project and you're owed a 40% tax credit back, then you may be capped at only 30%. So to put that into numbers, $100,000 project, 70,000 of it was covered by grants. The tax credit said you can get 40,000 back. You'll only be able to get 30,000 back. Just something to think about as you put these projects together. It's very helpful in the beginning stages as you're figuring out your finance. Brings me to my last slide, which is the financing slide. We do have a couple of options that we help with. One is the Michigan Climate Investment Hub. Anyone that's thinking of very large properties or a portfolio of clean energy projects, we can get you in touch, or you can reach out to Ben Dewicki at the Michigan Climate Investment Hub. We also work with Michigan Saves, which is also a direct elective pay ambassador. And they have a bridge loan that's available to nonprofits that's using elective pay. How the bridge loan works, we help you calculate how much money you would get back from your clean energy project as an elective pay credit. And Michigan Saves will loan you that money up front. And then you won't have to pay that money back until after the project is complete and you have received your refund. So that's my whole presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself or Peggy Matta. We have flyers at the table. We also have our business cards over there. Thank you.
Yeah, and Absolute Solar is well versed in a lot of this work too. So as your project designs are underway, they'll be able to help you through these things. Definitely encourage people to consider Michigan Saves. It's the nation's first green bank. We're pretty lucky as the state of Michigan to have such a great resource. Next up, we got Adam, who's going to take it away. Seasoned pro in this. So thanks, Adam.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming out. This is my ugly mug, and this is my house that I put solar on a couple years ago. We can talk about that, or we can talk about how you can put solar on your house or business too. So let's go into it. I'm Absolute Solar, and a little bit about us, if the slides will go. So the owners of our company, they actually met at MSU studying environmental law. Back 10, 15 years ago, they were in school, met each other, tried to go into the whole law practice. They did that, and they eventually figured out that starting a solar company is going to be more environmentally friendly than a long-term approach to changing the laws of how environmental stuff works. So our company was founded in 2016. We're coming up on our 10 years, which is exciting for us as a company. We're locally owned and operated right here in the state of Michigan, as of course, being MSU bred. And, good thing about us as a company is licensed, insured. These are really important things any real company should have. Master's electricians, we're dealing with electrical work and all that for businesses, schools, you name it. Turnkey installation. What does that mean? It's essentially from start to finish, we're the people that do all of the legwork for you. Like Marshall indicated, we're doing the initial prep work on the designs, making sure the system is designed, accurately based on your needs for your business. Based on your bills, how much energy are you using? This is going to be determined to figure out how big of a system you can put on the building, and then we actually go about the whole design process too. We're going to be able to do all the permits, all the interconnection applications that we have to submit through the utility company, because believe it or not, you have to go through them to let them determine how much you can even put on your own property. But that's part of the job. A big part of our company is that we monitor all of the systems that are being put up as well. And after the system has been fully installed, we're actually able to service that equipment as well. That's good being locally owned here in Michigan. All of our clients, everyone that we've ever installed, we're looking at our systems daily to see how are they functioning. And if there's ever any alerts or anything wrong with that system, it actually automatically alerts us as the contractor. And being turnkey, we're not subbing this out to somebody down the road. That's actually us doing the work. We're actually the installers as well. So that's a big part of the whole service practice that we provide.
And I think that's pretty rare. I haven't heard of any other solar companies that have that service, that if a branch and damages a panel, Absolute is going to be able to dial in which panel was damaged and come out and service it. So.
Yeah, it's really great because it automatically detects if something is wrong.
Michigan Solar Solutions as well. Another good company.
A lot of good companies in Michigan that are still around are actually going to be here because they actually care about people at the end of the day. So that's a big part of what we do. And what we want to talk about here with commercial entities is kind of the future of how solar and tax credits can work. I know the 2030 districts is going to be a great resource for that. But the good news is that there is a 30% tax credit that's still available to nonprofits and even businesses. So a big part of that is, going to be making sure, like the 2030 district indicated, how you go about that. We're going to make sure that everything that we can do as a solar company is going to be PFE and FEOC compliant. So you're going to be able to claim these credits. And if you're in certain areas, you actually are available to get higher credits as well based on income brackets for the county and energy community credits. So one thing we're also going to do is just look at the actual system itself and figure out what is the best way to approach this based on your ROI and your goals. We want to figure out what does your business need. And what the nice thing is about the 30% is it applies to the entire amount of what the contract is. It applies to batteries as well. So it's going to be good because you'll speed up your ROI in that way. Now, like they kind of indicated with 2030 district, Michigan Saves, the Michigan Infrastructure Office Technical Assistance Center, MEOTAC is what they call it. They offer free guidance on this as well. As much as we can help with a lot of this, we're not the tax experts in the room. We're not filing for you. So those are things that they can really assist with. And now another, I guess, one beautiful thing that happened in that bill is that there is a 100% bonus depreciation that can be applied for businesses now. So that can actually appreciate the value of your business and it'll make it so your net cost of the total contract in the end ends up being a really good deal. So the timeline for the applicable credits, I know the 2030 district put that in a slide, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it is important to know because these timelines are massive. What we want to do is make sure before the July 4th of this year, if we can, get your project at least initiated, so then we don't have to rush around until the end of 27, because technically that's the deadline for anybody trying to apply for any type of credit is the end of 27. But we want to make sure we can get that done for you as soon as we can, and that's why we're here to kind of get that ball rolling for you. So what we're going to do is just plan for the future. Our company, like I've kind of been preaching about, is that we're going to design the system. We're going to consult with you to figure out like what is your utility usage? How do we figure out the best return on investment? What is your goal? The longest return, the quickest return. We want to figure out financially what makes the most sense for you and your business for the long haul. And so we're going to analyze with our software program, we're actually analyzing the system. We're looking at soiling, trees, shading, all the profile analysis that you can do, accurate weather reports based on your property. We're looking at that historical data, and it's going to help us figure out all those loss factors that are part of like a solar model, which is going to make it accurate for you. So when we do that design, basically, we're going to make sure that we're going to get you the result that you want. Ultimately, we have to go based on, there's certain parameters with the utility company. There's a lot of parameters with utilities and just property lines, setbacks, certain things we have to abide when we go through the permitting stages, but we're going to make sure we're going to find the most cost-effective approach for you when we go to put this together. So one of the other things that we're going to do is, like I kind of talked about, is figuring out, are we looking for the fastest return? Are we looking for the largest total return? Because that's going to help us determine how big of a system you may want to get for your energy needs. And for people that are looking for that quickest, kind of most cost-effective approach, usually around a 60 to 75% electrical offset is what we typically recommend when we're doing analysis. Of course, you can go up to 110% based on what DTE and consumers will allow, but it's usually the quicker return is those lower electrical offsets just because of excess generation. When you start to get to the point of looking at your solar production and what's possible, basically anything that gets excess produced, the utility company doesn't give you that full retail rate, the full credit for kind of what you could get back. So that's why you see a little bit better of a return on a smaller system. So going into that, when we go through the permitting stages, we're looking at the utility company has to, again, grant you the approval on the system. They give you up to 110% of what your annual consumption is. And what they have, it's called distributed generation. Basically, that is the amount of energy excess credits that they give you for anything after whatever your business, your property needs in the moment. So a peak solar noonday, maybe your business is not running on the weekends, sun is out, you might be getting credits for days. But you're going to get credited based on the amount and value that they provide for you. And so they do that fluctuation based on what their agreement is through that distributed generation. And that's something that they will determine. But again, we can at least make sure that your system is sized up appropriately so you're offsetting as much as you need. Again, this is stuff we'll do for you. You don't have to look at the numbers. I mean, obviously, we're happy to look at them with you, but all we really need is a bill, and then we can dive really deep into the details there. And so, like everybody's been talking about, and everyone probably in this room has a bill that they have to pay at the end of the month. The bills aren't going down. Unfortunately, that's just the facts. I know DTE was looking at trying to get an 11% rate increase for this year. They got 4 point something. Of course they did, because they want to ask for as much as they can the moment they can, just like consumers. As soon as they're legally eligible to ask for a rate increase, they're going to do it almost the same day. And so, you see it's just a for-profit kind of companies that are privately owned, and they're not looking out for you at the end of the day, unfortunately. So that's kind of what the most important thing is with solar, is that you can offset that, because with solar, you become essentially a second source of power for your own building. It's not just the utility company's energy you're getting. You're also collecting energy from the sun. So it becomes two forms of energy you can create. One of them is free. You just got to look at the sun. And so that's kind of the beautiful thing about that. So with data centers, everything that's coming, that's another big thing that we haven't talked about yet, really. I know we mentioned it briefly, but that's going to be something we can't fully understand yet, just because of how much energy is going to be demanded. I mean, yes, we have data centers coming on site now, but this is the very beginning of that. And it's going to be using a lot more energy than a lot of people anticipate. And it's only going to make rates even higher. So this is where you can kind of help yourself out in that regard. And this is just a graph. Again, it was in the background, but I wanted to put it on the forefront so you can kind of see where the price per kilowatt hour is and where it's been and where it's going. And these numbers, this is 2025's numbers, so we don't obviously can't tell the future just yet, but we know that data centers are coming. Each data center is going to use like in equivalents of cities worth of energy. So, that's a pretty massive amount of draw that's going to be required. So those are kind of things that are important to think about as these utilities keep raising rates. It's because of these types of things that are coming online, not to mention all of the added electrical use for, evening use, EVs, electrification of just your items in your home and your business. So I'll go over this quick just because I want you guys to understand how this all works. This is just kind of an infographic that kind of shows you how a solar system works. For you that aren't familiar with it, of course, the only things that you need are right here. You need this. This is the most important guy. And then you need that. Well, this is the solar system, photovoltaics on your roof. You can put it on a ground mount array as well. This is actually connecting to an inverter. And the inverter is the thing that's transitioning the energy from DC to AC. It's basically making everything powerful in your home. You can connect that into a battery system to help store that energy during the day and use it at night. Or it's during certain parts of the day that you see the line is connected to the grid as well, because these are all grid tied systems at the end of the day. Any excess energy goes out to the grid, and it does help because then at least you can get some credits for excess generation. That's typically how a system is designed. Again, you don't need to do batteries, but that is an option. These are just some examples of projects we've done over the years. We have a church here, we have a school, we have an Aldi, we have ground mount array, a couple ground mount arrays that have different types of panels on them. So you can kind of understand, you can do solar on most types of applications. And this is a commercial business actually that we're working with right now. So you can kind of get an idea of like an average size of what you'd be looking at for a business example. Every house, every business, every property is going to be a little bit different in system size, but this is kind of looking at an average. Again, I don't need to go into all the details here, but this shows you in the graph, which is maybe the more important one. In the red is showing you like that business's consumption month by month, and then solar is in the yellow. It's kind of showing how it ramps up in the summer months, kind of draws down in the winter, just because that's kind of how the sun works. It's not out as long during the winter months, but that's going to be showing around a 67% electrical offset on this building. And they're going to be saving on average over the course of 25 years about $50,000 per year on their electric bill, which is insane. So if you think about that from a business perspective and just monetarily, you're actually going to be saving a heck of a lot more money on something like this than probably anything that you could do it within the business itself. And this system specifically was designed with a payback period of only 5.3 years. They are applying all of the credits that are available to them, which is making that possible, but it's something that is tangible. And then as you can see, over 25 years, the amount of bill savings it's over $1 million. I mean, for any business that's looking at the long term, they're going to look at that kind of figure and understand that money doesn't grow on trees, it grows on panels. So that's kind of how that works. It's a beautiful thing. So this is the reference I'll show you here. And Dale Rosmos, he's actually one of our clients who gave us his phone number. He's like, yeah, have anybody call me if they have any questions. He is the front runner of the University Lutheran Church in East Lansing. He did a flat roof install here in 2020 with us. And then in 2024, they did a ground mount array. They expanded upon their system. They knew their needs were larger. And at that time, they were able to collect that direct pay incentive, which was really exciting to them. Prior to the Inflation Reduction Act, which allowed for this, in 2020, they did solar and there was no tax credit. They just did it out of the goodness of their hearts because they know, that's an important thing for their church there. So if anybody has any questions, he said, feel free to give him a call. He's, one of the guys who runs that. He's done a lot of other work with nonprofits throughout the years. So he's a great resource just to kind of pick your brain and help you go through with how he went about the process. And again, I'm just going to quickly breeze over this. Michigan Saves is an option. You don't have to go through this with financing, but it is something that if you don't have the cash or the flow for it, Michigan Saves can help with offering these types of options for you. And they can do that. We can help you connect the dots for you on all those options. So to get into the meat and potatoes of how the group buy discount works, the Solarize program that we're providing, basically any commercial business, any nonprofit is guaranteed, if they want to get a quote, is going to be guaranteed at least a minimum of 5% off of the going rate of that solar price. And so for anybody who signs up after 5 signatures have been signed on, then it's an additional discount for everybody in that group, the nonprofit and commercial business group that brings on. So it goes up to 15%. So if up to 15 people sign on, everybody would get 15% off. If 19 people sign on, it's still 15, that's the cap. 15% off of the solar price of the entire project there. So, and then after that, of course, you can apply the federal tax credit or direct pay incentive if you're a nonprofit. And then that can get you, 45 to 55% off just on the net cost, just from the incentives and the discounts that we're able to provide. So again, it's a beautiful thing. It's kind of like Marshall was indicating, it's almost like a Tupperware party, but we want it to be something that you can just help yourself out and get a better deal on the overall cost, the upfront cost of solar. So looking at the timeline, again, we're talking about a lot of different timelines, but this one is kind of important for this group specifically, because what we're doing is we're actually setting up the deadline very nice and easily for the July 4th deadline. So for anybody who wants to get a quote for the commercial nonprofit group, essentially we're doing the meeting today. We've got 2/24 today, and then in 2 weeks, it's your deadline to request, contact us if you want to get a quote. Just give us 2 weeks, and then we'll happily help you out there. And then over that course of time, next couple of weeks, it's going to be just getting the quote prepared, getting everything we need for you. You can get that quote in your hands within 2 weeks once we are able to look at everything. And then the next step 4, again, we have 14 weeks on this. We wanted to give you guys enough time. We know that some churches, some schools, a lot of there's board meetings that have to happen. They can't make quick decisions. There's not one person in a whole business that does these things. So it's usually multiple meetings that have to happen. So we're making sure there's enough time to prepare for all those events. So July 4th is the deadline for this group, for anybody who wants to sign up and receive that discount for the Solarize group. And then we'll obviously finalize the discounts, update everybody's contract with the final price based on, however many people signed up. Everybody, wins with that. And then that's my favorite email to send to everybody is, hey, you saw a contract for 5% off. Hey, exciting. You got 9, you got 10, you got 15% off. We've done that for some folks, and it's been an exciting thing that we've been a part of for the last handful of years with Marshall and these Solarize programs. So basically, the next step is really just getting a utility bill. That, like I said in the beginning, that's the most important thing we need for anybody who wants to put solar on any property, is just understanding your electric needs, the overall demand. So just a front and back copy of your bill. You can send it to us. We have a link on our website. You can submit it through our online portal, or you can ask anybody, or you can hand me your bill if you want, if you have a copy of it. I don't want to take it from you, but that's all we really need is just a copy of that. The most important thing is looking at all the graph data, because we're looking at kilowatt hours month by month that we need to see. And then if we have the back page that's showing your rate schedule you're on with commercial properties specifically, that's very important because a lot of businesses have different rate schedules that they may be on. So we want to make sure that we get all of the bills so we know exactly how to, kind of prepare your quote accordingly. And then this is the link for our website. Again, like Marshall said, this stuff is coming to you, so you'll have all this. And I guess we can take on any questions if anybody has anything, or if Marshall want to touch on it, but that's more or less the commercial side of things.
Yeah, so go ahead and open up for questions. I've got about 10-15 minutes, so.
So this is the first of this series of meetings in Oakland County. So if the business that I work for is not able to make a commitment in the next couple of weeks, do we show up at another meeting and then we have a different deadline?
So the deadline for this group is the July 4th, right? So you have plenty of time to at least be a part of this group that you're in right now. So that would, but if we're not going to push it, be in this group if you have time and take that course. But yeah, we can help you out and make sure we can get you well prepared well before a couple of weeks or so.
But the deadlines for the other groups.
Yeah, there's going to be other groups that we do in that Solarize programs we do through Oakland County throughout the year. We're going to be a part of those as well. So it's going to be something that we're happy to help out throughout the year. If it's going to be like, 6 months from now, let's start the conversation where, that's understandable. Great.
We do got some more seating up here. If people are struggling to find seating.
Yeah, feel free to take my chair. I don't need. There's comfy chairs over there too.
Yeah, we got the comfy chairs, so.
Should have put those front and center. Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Well, thank you again for coming out. This has been great. We're going to do the residential side of this presentation in just a little bit here for anybody who owns a home, probably most of you. So hang tight and grab another bite to eat and we'll take 5.
Yeah, plenty of food.